First of all, the conductor, you don't create a sound. So your instrument is not actually your baton. Your instrument is the orchestra.
Oh, so lovely to see you, Jimmy.
Yes, well, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting to talk to you. I love that. Jimmy, so you have just come back from, well, not just come back, but a while ago you did the tour with the boys in Spain.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And how was that? Because that was this the first time touring since the lockdown?
It's true. Officially, it's the first tour we did, and we successfully did. And we did a great. The boys did a great job. We were in Burgos, and the famous cathedral Burgos. They celebrated their 800 years.
Okay.
And so they invited us as kind of at the end of their celebration. I think they have celebrated like I don't know how many days already, and but we were at the climax of it, and we appeared at the cathedral, and great audience, was all full, and they have to put out like monitors. The cathedral was built in such a way that there are blind spots everywhere, but they want to fill it up with people. But of course with distance as well, and so they have to use every corner of the cathedral. But I think at the end there were hundreds of people, and they were maybe able to experience us with monitors, and some of them experienced live in the front. And so yeah, we had really enjoyed it actually, the whole experience, and of course for the boys as well, because a lot of them haven't been, especially the new ones. I mean, the older ones has been longing for, because it's been so long, has been, on tour and be on stage. But some of the young ones, this is their first time.
Oh, I see. Yeah, of course, because they came in the new year when you didn't tour. Yeah.
Exactly. And then of course this time in July, which is another year already. So there's another group of new boys also joined.
Oh, I see. So, and why is that? Do they normally join in the half of the year?
No, every year, because we have the school system. So every boy will go through 4 years of their let's say Unterstufe.
Yeah.
The middle school, let's say, what you call it. So the middle school, when they finish, then they have to graduate, which normally coincides with their voice change. So the 13, 14 years old, they leave always at the end of the school year, which is end of June. Then it's the same time when we receive the new one from our Volksschule, from elementary school.
Yeah.
Or new ones, or we want to test out. And so we have our summer camp every summer, either July or August, for each choir 1 month. And we happen to be in July, and so we were able to also take over this concert.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, but that must have been so exciting for the boys.
Yeah. It was a bit stressful in the beginning, but we're well prepared, and so it was really good. I mean, it was really short. I mean, we were actually only 2 nights.
So do you take the whole choir, or do you choose, and especially in this time, could you take the whole choir that you normally would have taken?
The whole choir, but the whole choir, it's always the whole choir. When we call whole choir, because we, I don't know if I have explained this before, but we have 100 boys approximately from the whole institution, but we've divided them into 4 groups. And so each group will remain always the same. We hardly make them. And each group will have a designated conductor, which I'm connected with one group. And so this group I trained, which actually makes sense, because you don't want to, you train daily for a certain sound, then you go on tour with a certain next sound.
Yeah.
So you stick with a certain group, and it has, by way of let's say training, and so I took my group, let's say, to go.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. And and what did you sing?
Well, we were actually bound to do only sacred song.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a really holy cathedral, especially for 800 years, and so we were told to prepare 75 minutes of sacred songs without break.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I have a program that actually ranged from Gregorian chant to, through the whole Baroque, classic, Renaissance, and then to all the way to modern. Um, and for example, we have numbers with like, especially because we're in Spain, so I have motet, Tenebre, from Victoria, de Victoria. And also we have, those actually are some of our normal numbers of 4 parts motet that our boys sing.
Oh, okay.
And of course we have then Mozart or Haydn, Insane et Vane. So and then, but I mix in some, let's say, not so strictly sacred song, but was acceptable. Classic.
Oh, okay.
We have Schubert, of course, Schubert's Widerspruch. We have Schumann's song, Blondel's Lied, which is, a solo number song. Describe Blondel, at the heart of the lion's heart.
Okay. Yeah.
That's actually I choose that one because first of all, it's of course it's a relation in Dürmstein, where near Vienna, where he was imprisoned, and then was then released, through Blondel's Lied, this history. But I also picked that is especially because that's exactly those around the years where this cathedral was built, the story.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's interesting.
So I thought, well, why not? And we have a boy that's been singing that number. And, Blonder is supposed to be this boy that, trying to, get the message to the king. And anyway, then we have all kinds of numbers. We have also Rossini La Carità. And we have Panis Angelicus, Cesar Frank, and so this is many numbers. I mean, I even did a Stabat Mater from Pegolesi, and I choose 3 numbers. I mean, not so actually, let's say, liturgical correctly, because during summer, normally it's sung, of course, before Easter. But still, it's because this church actually also is dedicated to the Virgin Mary. And so there are a lot of numbers in there, more like a Mary's song. We have a lot of Ave Monteverdi, Ave Maria. We have, of course, Stabat Mater, some numbers. And then we have a modern one by Gaio, I think it's called, Norwegian composers, modern, contemporary, Ave Generosa. And so, yeah.
But do you choose? Is this some of the repertoire that the boys already know, or do they have? Oh, they do.
Each concert and each tour are up to the conductor's, let's say, design of the program. I'm free to do what I wanted to do, and at the end, I just have to submit the program. Of course, then the managers, the officers, and of course, my chief, the artistic directors of the Vienna Boys has to approve it. But normally, because I have most of the access to the rights to it, because I know what my boys know, and I know, of course, I know because I know the current situation of the group. Because sometimes you might have something already trained, but then knowing that the soloist is changing voice, then you have to make some adjustment.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Or you, especially in July, this kind of time, you get an old boys left and coming new boys. So you always have to find a really good mix of introducing new songs, but at the same time trying to remain the stability and the quality of the choir. That you need to at least have 70% of the group that's already know the repertoire to help the new ones to come up.
And yeah, and do these boys have to know these songs by heart, or can they sing with score?
To be honest, with my group, I always demand. I'm a little strict on this. I always demand that we always sing in memory.
Yeah.
And somehow, from my boys, always achieve that. And I have a way of training, of course, that I repeat things in a daily basis that will make sure that they really can get it. And of course, I have years of experience also as myself as a soloist on piano, for over almost 40 years. That that I know what memorizing a piece means, and how to train your brain, and how to the strategy, bit by bit, or like you only focus on the problems and the text. They don't need to always sing, but memorize text. And so this is the kind of my daily training basis with them. And so we were always able to, even with a 1.5 hour program, they were able to memorize.
That's amazing that they can do that. If you consider how young they are, and that they have that ability to do that without years of experience.
Estimating. Actually, they have much more power than we do. It's actually, really? I feel the same way. Actually, as we go, unfortunately, we grow older, we have less space sometimes. I have more complication in memorizing in comparison to when I was, much younger. I can just memorize every week a Mozart sonata. That's never a problem. Now, sometimes you might even have problems with just first movement.
So, but and when you guys on tour like that, do the boys have a free time where they can just hang out a little bit, or is it very strict because they?
So, normally we always design, because on tour we travel with also 2 teachers. What we call erzieher, let's say guardians, and so we plan things for them. And of course now during the COVID we're trying to be safe. Sometimes we don't want to be exposed ourselves too much. But with the city of Burgos, this was first of all, it's not crowded, and it's a small city, and it's really beautiful. And so we did take them to take a walk around the city, take pictures, and we live really close to the cathedral. So I mean, this is a really mini tour. We arrive. We still have to take the bus down to Burgos, and then and it's already evening. We have dinner, and so we just kind of let the boys chill out in the hotel room, maybe take a night walk and come back. And then the next day we have already the morning free. They also take a walk. Sometimes these teachers will play games with them. And then we have the rehearsals in the afternoon, and then already getting ready for the show. Okay. Then the next day we go to the airport, So in this case, of course, it's hard to say this is normal, but we still try to get, if there's free time, we will try to give, let them have the needs.
Do you have a sort of a like a protective father over your boys? Do you, is there a good bonding between you, or a good relationship? Yeah, because you're saying now that you always work with them and they your group and so on. So do you develop this relationship with them?
Yes, indeed. I think that's what makes us special. Let's say, and I have I don't let's say purposefully do it like that. But I think they can feel it, first of all, that, of course, I am a father myself. And, of course, I have 2 boys that actually are also Vienna Boys. My older one already graduated, but my younger one is, in fact, still in the choir. But nevertheless, I think way from the beginning, 8 years ago, when I first took on the job, that I think that was one of the main or let's say a lot of feedbacks from also even audience, even from organizers. This is one of the comments. It's not just because they sing so well, but they can tell even during the concerts There is some kind of connections that they can even feel that they rely on me totally, just like
Really.
father and sons. And they know that once I'm there, there's nothing's gonna go wrong. There's some things like that, and I think it developed well, and I think it's a natural thing for me, and I think that's very important because especially working with kids, I think there's only so much that you can do technically and intellectually, but psychologically you have to really work with what do you call vertrauen, confidence. You have to gain that. I trust them as well, and they have to trust me. And once this trust is built, you basically can just ask for anything you want, and then they will give you.
Yeah.
And that is actually the key to success.
Now, I find that wonderful. I think this is also special, and that's this love that you install in them for the music and for this form of art, because this will be their association with it. Is yeah.
And I think this gives them also, the traveling, the music making, and the social side of it. I think it will remain in their lives forever.
Yeah, definitely.
And oh, sorry.
No, carry on. You can say.
Yeah. I think a lot of them, in fact, I can even tell some boys, the new one, they were. I think the stage is very important. Sometimes the hardship of working and rehearsal in the rehearsal rooms, or with me being very strict, it doesn't really give them a vision of why are they doing this. So having such occasion give them a vision and why, and then a kind of a confirmation of why are we working so hard. And they can see that and receive from the applause from the audience, that they realize that's what it means. And I think that's really, really valuable.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the fact that they can see where are they working towards, and the fact that you say you are strict. And I was actually talking to a conductor a while ago who has a youth orchestra, and she says the same thing. She said that when she started with music, it was this teacher who was so strict and who was not in a negative way, but in really setting the boundaries and having her practice and know what she's working towards, that installed this love of music for her. And yeah, this is what you are doing, showing them why you have to be disciplined and why they have to work in a specific manner to get that result.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's I don't know about our generation, but maybe I think it's starting to lack of this. I mean, my time was always, my teachers were always strict and demanding. And they're different saying, they say, well, not be so strict, or like, you'll kill the motivations, or you will kill the joy of learning. And I think that it needs to be both. And what people don't realize, and I experienced this really, really, really vivid, is that actually the kids, no matter how they even hated it, the discipline, but they wanted it as well. It's really strange. And they would actually show even less motivation when they realize the teacher actually has given up on them. When they realize that actually, oh, you don't actually even care. Or when we sound bad, wurscht, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Actually, they get even more demotivated, and they will always be like depressed, or like, then they will even really ask why we're here. But sometimes when you're really strict, and strict, of course, but in a really, let's say, friendly way, or let's say in a positive way, then they know, okay, it's hard. Why are we repeating? But then they still do it. And then once, after a while, and then I finally give them let's say a moment of say, that's it. Finally I approved it. Then you can tell their face. This, or like, I sometimes like to tend to, I say, okay, focus just once. And then all of a sudden let them really hear the sound, what they can really achieve. Then they realize, okay, well, that's our standard now. You can't go any. That's how you train them. Is to make them demand for themselves. Because then, even though if I'm not strict, they will be strict with themselves.
Yeah.
They won't accept it. And that's important.
And they will take this in when they go away from this school, they will also take this with them for the rest of their lives, I think. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
But Jimmy, and you are also now on your way to Italy to do Carmen. And are you preparing now for that?
Yes, tomorrow, in fact, I'm flying already down there to Taranto. And I'm conducting Carmen, the opera Carmen. And it will happen in 2 weeks on the 2 performances only, but at the Opera Festival Taranto. And it will be on the 28th and the 29th of August.
Okay. And so are you preparing now before you go already, or
well, yes.
How does it work for you?
Preparing opera, there's many ways, of course. There are, in the German-speaking country, in fact, this is my first time in Italian country, let's say in Italy, I'm very excited about, but in general, doing opera is not my first time, of course. And I worked at the theater Lübeck and worked at the theater in Freiburg, in Breisgau, in Germany for several years. And I have conducted many operas. And whether sometimes productions that's already existed and, they're running. And so you just take over and conduct the evening shows. That kind of conducting I have done as well. And there are also my own productions where you basically direct and work with a stage director, a regie, from beginning to the end. And in normal productions periods, let's say in the German-speaking world, this is like the most, let's say active place, Germany and Austria. Then it's 6 weeks of time normally, 5 to 6 weeks. And so where you start with using the pianist, repetiteur, that you work with the singer, each soloist, or even the choir, to get them learned, each parts and memorize the text. At the same time, they work with the stage director on the staging. First of all, in a room, then you repeat until probably the week before the premiere. Then I come into place as well to train the orchestra, maybe about 4 to 5 rehearsals. It depends on how much budget sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you have, there's always a system. But there's, of course, sometimes at a festival like this, then, of course, you have limited resource. And so this become only a week of rehearsals. Then where you then have to hire people that have sung this role already many times, or at least know.
Yeah.
And then come in, and then we just have checked, and you stand here and probably. And I have not. I have matched them only online so far. Let's say text. We have a text group that formed, and I have talked with the regie, several times on the text. But I'm really excited to meet them finally.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But in this case, I can only prepare on my own, of course. Then I have to be very well prepared with my partitura, my score, and of course I'm able to play on the piano as well, because I used to work also with that, and I train singers, especially also with the voice, and so I normally play from my full score on the piano, to get myself even more familiar. So.
But now this is Carmen. Have you conducted Carmen before?
Well, in my back in the school days, yes, I did. In fact, I have studied. I have did through. Um, um, so I know it previously. But of course, now fully staged, and in fact, we will be even outdoor performance.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, that will be a totally different, totally different ball game.
And how important is it for you now when you go there to, you say you looking forward to meeting them? Is it very important for you before the time to work with the cast, with the singers and so on?
Well, I surely hope that I was hoping that I could, but I think with the, let's say, logistic, arrangement, I only have them starting Saturday, which we only have in really a week.
Oh, okay.
The 21st, and so we have a really tentative plan already of each day, one act, and. And for example, the first part of the day, we'll train with me, only music, and really get it solid on that specific act. Then afternoon, then we'll work on the staging on that act. Then you get, then the second day, another act. So then, and the whole Carmen is 4 acts. So in 4 days, we finish. Then 5th day, we have to go through, put them all together. Then 6 and 7, we have orchestras. So this is more or less our, let's say, planned. Yeah. But of course, reality sometimes will change. Then we have what else is needed.
Yeah. And for you with the orchestra, do you have enough time for the orchestra, with the orchestra?
It's never enough.
Okay.
But of course, you have to, I can only say you do the best out of what you can, you receive.
Okay.
And this time I probably only have two rehearsals. And I mean, sometimes, in opera houses, you don't even have rehearsals. But really? Of course,
yeah.
But I think Carmen is not like some really strange opera where no one knows. Yeah. So in that case, that's the bonus. So.
But do you play do you do the score? Do you treat the score always the same? So like the traditional way, is it like, certain things that just has to be there in the music, even if the staging is different? Do you have to do it the traditional way?
I think one has to stay flexible. And in fact, of course, I study in a more from a traditional way, of course, where I already have learned. And of course, there are recordings. And then, of course, the book says, for example, the tempo markings, how fast it should be. But, of course, you never really hear one recording or one performance where it's exactly what's written. And in fact, there is even several versions of Carmen that actually sometimes have French dialogues. And then there's also a version that actually originally even played in Vienna first, where they have recitativo, accompagnato, that's written for it. That means, it's just a recit that where you sing out text. And so we have decided to do that one because to even train dialogues in between, that's even taking longer time. So we picked a version where we do only the recitative. So there's sometimes the traditions of cut and there. I think we will have to see I have to see also what's the group like. And I cannot tell now, I have to be prepared to be flexible. I can only tell, let's say, in my taste, after the first day, let's say the first half of the first rehearsal day, then I will know what I get. It's like you get to know someone. You got to know someone first, what kind of personality, what kind of character. So I need to know this cast, how they react, and how well they prepared. And then I will know what to expect, and I will know what kind of traditions that we can bring in such a short time. Yeah. And in fact, sometimes the traditions, when you read more the history, some of the traditions are also out of limitation. when they were saying at Bizet's time, maybe the premiere was done this way. Well, they also have limitations due to their circumstances, and they set a certain traditions. So there's also no rules to say we cannot break.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But of course, I'm sure also my stage director, he is more to the sheet. He also have told me and told us all that we'll follow the basic concept of the book, where the novel was from Prosper Mérimée. And there's the original novel that's actually written about Carmen.
Oh,
It's
I
like
didn't know that.
Yes, yes. It was the inspiration from this novel, which is actually like a travel dialogue. That there was this Englishman traveling in Spain, and he met really a guy, Don José.
Oh,
and
okay.
This story with this gypsy woman, and then I read it as well, and there are a lot of things. Yes, and in fact, a lot of things you can tell how the librettist and Bizet created this figure from this whole long novel. And in fact, in the opera, there's the good girl Micaela, which is kind of like a first love of Don José back home, and this figure actually does not exist in the novel.
Really?
So it's a creation actually from it for the opera from the librettist. And so anyway, I'm just saying we are the kind that we like to combine. We like to base on as loyal as possible to at least the content of the opera. And then whether you're the performance practice traditions, that I think we have to see what's the stage is like. What are the reality? What are the technical requirements? Like for example, there's this famous quintet in the Carmen where the Carmen and then her two friends, and then the two let's say gypsy this gangs. There's a very difficult quintet, really fast normally, and everything has to be so tight together, rhythmic and tempo and text. Well, if it's in an indoor and you have indoor theater and you have good acoustic and you have enough rehearsal, then you can say we take it really crazy and take it really to the edge. Well, in this case, open air, and we might have to use mics, and then we only have maybe one or two run through. Like I'm just saying example. In this case, we have to take on considerations how to make it still presentable, and you can't take things to the edge.
And now I've also had or heard of a masterclass where they specifically work with conductors and singers together because they feel that there's that important connection has to be. And I never knew that. I never realized that. And I've also spoken to a conductor who is a ballet conductor, and he also talks about this connection that has to be with the dancers, and that that has to be that relationship. And I also never knew that how important that is, because I always associated the conductor with the orchestra and not necessarily with the singers, So this is so interesting for me that you go now there and now you have to connect also with the singers, not just the orchestra.
Well, in fact, it should be like this, and I'm sure there may be conductors that doesn't not connect, but you see, for me as a conductor, of course we connect with the orchestra, but first of all, the conductor, you don't create a sound, so your instrument is not actually your baton. Your instrument is the orchestra. So as if actually I'm playing the piano. Now, and then during the show or during the opera or whatever, you are becoming actually the accompaniment for the singers. So in that case, when I conduct the orchestra, it's as if I'm playing the piano, to accompany the singers. So in that case, if I don't have the connections, there's no way. And there's so much happening on stage that could happen, or mistakes, or things could just happen that delay, singers, or you never know. I've experienced that someone lost a text, forget a certain line, then you get things totally get lost, or like someone forget to come out, or there's always something. And in fact, that's so important to have connections, because then I'm the one who can actually try to save the situation.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because actually, as singers, it's really hard to say actually who should follow who. The best is, of course, if everyone are so on top of everything and just do it by itself. But that's why live is so important, live performance, because there's always something. And the thing is, it doesn't make sense to just say the singer should always follow the conductors, because sound-wise, they can always come out. But you see things backwards, it's always delayed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know what I mean, yeah? So if you only follow the conductors, but then the orchestra in the front are playing actually in front of you, it's actually acoustically also not right. So it's actually has to be the opposite. Because then we are out there hearing them, then we have a way to control the orchestra to accompany.
I see. Yeah.
Now, but simultaneously, the singers need the sound from the orchestra, as if they are get used to listening to accompaniment from piano. And if they lost that kind of support, they also cannot sing well.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So you can, as you can tell already, this is a very intertwined relationship that you can't really separate it.
Yeah.
Because you affect, it's the same like with the boys, for example, when I'm on stage with the boys, and because I'm also conductor and the pianist. That's a tradition. As I play and I conduct them. And this is it's actually can describe as a smaller sense of the relationship, because I have to guide them, they have to follow me, but at the same time, I have to be supportive in my playing. And the better I play, or perfect I play, they sing perfectly. If I play a wrong thing, or if I get, not stable, then they will not be stable. And then when they're not stable, then, I get lost. This is a cycle.
A cycle, yeah.
And but that's why I very much like opera, because it's very challenging experience, and in such productions, at the end you get this feeling of achievement.
Oh yeah, I can just imagine. But I love the opera, Carmen. I think the music is so beautiful, and the whole energy on stage. It's just the sad ending that I'm not very happy about.
But that's reality.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I actually spoke to a South African singer, and he told me that Carmen was done, was sort of revamped to fit into the townships in South Africa. So the story was, I think they used some of the music, but they retold the story so that it's relatable in the townships of South Africa. Did you see that? Have you known about this? Yeah,
I didn't know about that. I did not know.
Yeah.
You mean or you mean the later productions, or what is it? You mean the opera itself, or?
Yeah, the opera itself. It's an opera company in South Africa, and they sort of rewrote it a little bit, or changed it a little bit, so that the characters are basically relatable to people in the townships, and I think they used some of the music, but they also added African music
Really?
between, and I find that also interesting, that they could, that you can actually take an opera which is set in a totally different environment, and it's a it's a totally different genre basically, and that they could take the storyline and the music and connect it with something in South Africa, like this traditional township setup. Yeah. So I would, but I haven't seen this.
I haven't, but I think we have a lot of modern staging or realizations of many operas that have been done that way, and I'm not against this. For me, actually, well, I'm more traditional. That's why musically, I would still remain loyal to what was written, but I have to admit that a lot of these opera lines and content, first of all, need to be told in such a way that I think it's also quite how do you say it? It could describe a current situation as well. It's always up to date. When I look at Carmen, let's say the jealousy between Jose at the end with Carmen, or how Carmen actually, in fact, people only describe her as this bad girl, the gypsies, the girl and whatever. But I have to say, what she said about love and how you cannot really grab hold of this love when you try to trap and when you try to look for it, it will not come to you. Just at the time when you don't care, then it will come to you. Like even just line like this, in her famous habanera, it's actually so true. It's nothing bad, it's nothing secret. It's daily life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone has experienced it. And then we talk about even other operas, La Traviata, Lord, you talk about La Bohème, this love, or even like some tragic about the other things. Or, I would even compare this sometimes to Carmen. And there were a moment I all of a sudden hear a certain chord. I thought that comes from Wagner. And it reminds me of Tannhäuser. I don't know why, because I also really like this opera. And Tannhäuser is exactly the same thing of this main character. Tannhäuser is between two women, a very holy, good one, pure one, that's always praying for him, for his repentance, while he's looking for lust and interest and with Venus. And these settings, it just like José between Micaela and Carmen. And so, is what do you know? And I think you could find so many. Actually, for me, that's why I also really crazy about opera, because I think it's the most human, actually, art culture that actually one can experience. It will speak to everyone.
And I think this is why these themes and these messages, it's so relevant even today, that, like you say, it's real life. It's how it is. But I see I don't know, I see the death of Carmen actually as a symbolic, also symbolically that the jealousy of a man not just physically kills, but or the jealousy of people. It's if you're so protective and you're so jealous that you do kill the person or the soul or I don't know how to explain it, but that it's not just a physical stabbing, but it's like a psychological death as well.
But at the end, I call it actually he killed himself, because actually he's the one who lost his mind through the jealousy and through he cannot accept the reality, and that he, of course, he could call her the demon, or he could call whatever he wants to say, that you make me this way, blah blah blah. But he's the one who actually lost. He got lost.
Yeah.
And actually, Carmen, okay, physically killed, but she remained the same, because she said, I was born free and I will die free. she did remain herself. And for me, there is some truth in it. There
Yes.
is something that we can learn from it.
No,
It's not
definitely.
tragic or that she died. In fact, I think there is something we can learn from her.
But isn't it wonderful? Now we can see what this discussion can bring of just, just opera. It's amazing. It's such
Yes.
an amazing art form. Yeah, definitely. You're so privileged that you work with this and that that you have this life and that you have the study. I think artists and musicians like you, it's such a great privilege to have this knowledge of this and to have this exposure and part of this art that you work with.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is why I find these interviews with you so interesting. It's so lovely.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way, and I think it's a privilege, and I think it's. I'm grateful that I'm able to do it, and I'm able to experience this myself.
But Jimmy, I wish you toi for your performances in Italy, and not a bad place to go to do Carmen. And I hope you have.
Well, I heard it's 40 degrees down there right now, so I was.
Oh, okay. I hope you have your sushi before you go, before your performance, because I remember last time you said to me that you love to eat sushi before a performance.
Well, in Italy, I'm not going to expect that.
Okay.
I'll see.
What about Italian food do you like? What do you eat when you're in Italy?
Actually, generally, Italian food, you cannot say no. I mean, it just everything it's good, I mean, I for sure won't have a pizza before the show.
Yeah.
But probably a good pasta. Some even just plain, spaghetti aglio, or even with some seafood, it will be nice. I like seafood very much.
And afterwards, a pizza with Italian wine, or what is?
Well, wine is for sure good, and they have actually. I was there last time, and they have a very good primitivo. It's very famous down there.
Yeah.
It's very good, a little stronger, 14%, right? But it's very, very good one, and you can drink it anytime with any food.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're sorted then for after the performance. Jimmy, have a lovely flight and a lovely time in Italy, and we'll speak again soon. I'll follow on what you're doing, and maybe if there's another project coming up in autumn, then we'll speak again.
Yes, and in fact, I think the show will be broadcast, will be live streamed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Through a platform called Common Time.
Yeah.
So maybe you can follow that even up to watch it.
So. Yes, that would be great. And I'll put a link on if I'll try and you'll probably post it on Facebook or something. So I can get the link from there. Yeah. Then I will post it as well. Okay, Jimmy. Speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.